So we were at the museum going to see the robot collection and with ORLAN, with her piece there. And my mother-in-law had taken these iPads for the kids, which I did not want because I just don't believe in them when you're with children. I think you have to be participating. And it was just really funny because that's just not how I grew up. For my children, I like them to be bored once in a while because they get really upset. And I make a joke with them even, and they say, "Oh, Mom, I'm bored." I said, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you, bored. What's your, they get really upset." And then, but when I was little, I was bored, and I was allowed to just sort of sit there and hang out. And I was always going to, after school, I would go to the Paramount lot or the Zoetrope lot where one of my mom was working or my stepfather was working, and I would just sort of run around there, and I was allowed to watch cable movies, and I was allowed to watch anything I wanted, actually. It was really, really nice, actually, in that way.
Do you remember, like, the first film that really had an impact on you?
I do. The one that kind of really shocked me, I think, was The Tin Drum, because I was really little, I think, when it came out. I think I must have been 5 or 6 years old or something. And it was on Z Channel, which was this cable channel back in the day. And of course, cable actually was cable. It was those boxes with the numbers and then connects to the TV. And I remember, since nobody was monitoring me, I would just watch whatever was on. But I loved the concept of not wanting to grow up, because there is in every child's life, you don't want to grow up. There's a moment where you're like, you see adults, you don't want to grow up. It's not something that's interesting. And so that movie was incredible to me because he decided, I'm not going to grow up. And then he goes on this sort of series of adventures. And there's these moments that were just really, intimate's not really the word, but difficult to watch when you're a little child, like chopping off eels' heads, and there's sex scenes and things that just nobody was with me.
5?
Probably 5 or 6. I'd have to look up what year that came out, but when we had cable, it was on cable at that time. So maybe it had come out earlier, but it was being shown on TV at the time. There was that, and then there was All That Jazz, which I just adored.
Do you dance?
I did. I was a dancer for many years. I was in the Los Angeles Junior Ballet Company. I joined that when I was 10, after living in Paris, actually, where I had 2 very mean Russian teachers with sticks, but they got me into shape, and I went back, and I was, professional level, child, but, I was able to dance, did that till I was about 16, so I loved it.
And how did you get into your film producing? How did that
I went back into it. I lived in Europe for a little bit after school. I came and I just stayed in Europe. I was living in Nice, I lived in London, I stayed in Paris a bit, and then I was working on actually for this guy who I'm still friends with, actually, and we did like a studio thing. We were working at Studio de la Victorine in Nice, so that was sort of associated with it. It was about buyers and sellers for television programs and things like that. And then when I went back to the States, I ended up needing a job. I was just sitting there going, I don't know what to do. I don't have any money, and I didn't want to live at my mother's house, So I heard about just a secretary job at this visual effects company, and they were based in the Berkshires, which is Western Massachusetts. And so I don't know how I did it, but I bought a plane ticket. I showed up and I started answering the phones one morning because they didn't have anyone hired yet. I just started doing it, and I made really good coffee, and I got the job. and they were working. It was for this visual effects company that was doing work with Doug Trumbull, who was amazing. And he was doing all these sort of miniatures and stuff, and shooting all of that out there in the woods, basically. And there was these sort of made into these home studios out in the woods in the Berkshires. It was really cool. And so that's sort of how I started to go back into it. And I ended up working for that company for many years. I moved up to working as a coordinator, and I had a lot of fun. I did a lot of weird, random things. I was a stand-in for Jay Davidson for Stargate. They had to do a reshoot, and since he was a little too, unavailable, The director called me in one day, and I had no idea what he needed. He just looked me up and down and said, "Okay, great," and I was like, "Great, what exactly?" And they're like, "Oh, you look, like Jay Davidson," and I was like, "Great, okay, so I'm the alien."
From Crying Game.
Yeah. So I met him. He loved my dress we went to the premiere. So
That is wild.
yeah, so that was my one foray into, because I'm not interested in acting or being in front of the camera, but I did admittedly have the right skin tone and the right hair, and so I stood in for him. I'm shorter, but that's it.
That is wild. And then when did you open your own production company?
I'm sorry.
You have your own production.
Well, I just work freelance, and right now it's actually great, because I was really worried during the confinement, like what's going to happen with films and everything, and is production going to start taking place again? And I've been getting inundated with calls and people saying, "Okay, well, we have this project, and you help us find money on this. I might need a producer." I got 2 in the last 24 hours. People sending me scripts and saying, "Are you interested? Are you available?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." So I don't know which projects I'm going to be on. I am going to be working with Vincent, who I think you know, because I love his project, and we have an amazing DP who she's worked with everybody. So I'm looking forward to meeting her and getting that moving, because I think we should be able to shoot either by the end of this year or beginning of next year, which will be great.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I should be hopefully busy. Because I didn't realize, but yeah, people need to move their projects ahead, and you need a producer for that. So I'm going to be working, I think, this year more than I thought I was. So
Great.
I'm excited.
Thank you.